Can everybody see my slides?
Yep, they look great.
Great, Spruce, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. I am Spruce Sharneman, and I've been working with Emily, Twyla, and Alia, as well as Anna, from both Western Washington, University of Montana is where I'm at, and with Ceres. So we've been working on this project for the last 3 years, developing this curriculum for the PolarPASS program. So if you can advance to the next slide. So the motivation behind this project was to provide polar data in the classroom. We know that Earth's polar environments have undergone rapid change over the past few hundred years, and much of the data that has been generated is now sort of out there and available, and we're gaining new insights with this data. So the goal is really to bring the polar regions to students that can't make it to Greenland, right? It's an expensive place to go, and many students don't really have a sense of what Greenland is like and what the polar regions are like. So this was sort of the impetus behind this curriculum development. Advance. So I'll just share with you our agenda for the day. This is our second webinar in the PolarPASS series. So we'll be going over the PolarPASS curriculum and the website. And we'll be able to use the 360 interactive environments within PolarPASS. We'll have a little time for some Q&A near the end, and we'll also share some of our implementation tips. So feel free to message us in the chat as well while we're doing the interactive environments if you have any questions.
Spruce, if I may, I don't think we introduced ourselves more fully. And so I'm Emily Ward. I assisted in some of supporting Spruce and his team in creating the PolarPASS curriculum. I'm at the Ceres Education Outreach, the Cooperative Institute for Research and Environmental Sciences at University of Colorado Boulder. So just to give you a little bit of background about me, feel free to put your name, institution, teaching audience in the chat, and we can kind of get to know who's here.
Yes, thank you for that, Emily. I am Spruce Sharneman at the University of Montana Western. I'm in the Environmental Sciences Department and have spent a number of years in the polar regions doing paleoclimate work, and that's sort of my area of expertise. And have been working closely with Emily as well as the other collaborator members to put this curriculum together. So thanks.
All right, so we'll just dive in here.
All right, so the main objective of these webinars is to share this new curriculum that we have just completed recently. It's designed with active learning strategies to teach undergraduate students about a number of different concepts. So things like glacial hydrology, geomorphology, albedo and mass balance, glacier length variations. So if you did attend the first webinar, that was focused on using GIS and sort of mapping different regions of Greenland. The goal here is to become familiar with the 360-degree interactive environments. They're very similar to what you might have heard the term like virtual field trips, but they're a little bit more engaging. And then we're here to share some of our tips from our instructor experiences teaching this in undergraduate classrooms. Both myself and Ali Khan have beta tested the curriculum, as well as a number of other instructors this past spring where we did a big beta testing project. So you might be wondering, what is PolarPASS? PolarPASS stands for Polar Spaces and Places. And this was an NSF-funded curriculum designed to bring the polar regions to life in undergraduate classrooms. They weren't willing to fund tickets to Greenland for everyone, unfortunately. So this is our best alternative. We have two modules. The first is called Exploring the Glacier Basin System, which consists of 5 units. And module 2 is on the long-term spatial transformations of a glacier basin system. And this consists of 4 units. You can sort of see a little screenshot on the right here, highlighting the different unit topics on the right. So these units are designed to use authentic polar field data, along with the innovative teaching methods of the 360 imagery, which you can see above here, as well as GIS environments to strengthen students' knowledge of polar science and build connections to polar places. Our goal here is really to help students get a sense of the place. What would it be like if you were there and could see both the environment, the sounds, the culture, the sort of awe of being close to an ice sheet and raging rivers. So it's meant to really be an immersive experience. Within that, we really focus in on the year-to-year changes over both the past decades and then going even further back into the past, as well as timescales into the future. So next slide. So this is just an example from the previous webinar, which used Q Greenland, which is a database that has already been prepared. It's a full package with different layers of both DEMs, Landsat imagery, ice velocity. There's over about 50 different layers that are within the package. And the curriculum is designed to provide these introductory GIS skills to both students and instructors with step-by-step instructions along the way. And the PolarPASS students then gain some GIS and data analysis skills that they can use in a variety of future careers.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing here for a sec. We're going to jump into the looking at the curriculum. I did want to share a link with you for a poll asking about your experience in teaching with virtual environments. So let me know if you click on that link, and you should see a question that I'm going to have you answer some of those questions about as I load the curriculum page here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You may have seen in the chat that I shared a link to the PolarPASS curriculum, and you feel free to go ahead and use that link to get to this page, and you can navigate along with me. Can everybody see that website for PolarPASS in there? Okay, great. Awesome. Wonderful. So I just want to give you a sense for what the curriculum structure looks like. As Spruce mentioned, there are 2 modules, and today we're just going to take a look at module 2 to get a sense for how those modules are set up. So if you click on this photo here, the long-term spatial transformations of the glacier basin system, that will take you to the module 2 summary page. And just to give you a sense for what we're looking at here, it gives you kind of a little bit of information about what the module content contains, and the table of contents is a really great place to kind of navigate some of that curriculum. I like to take a look at this overview link just to start. If you click on that, it will take you to a 1-page kind of summary, giving you a kind of a Cliff Notes view of what the module has. So the goals of the module, short descriptions of the unit and the activities that students will do, and then of course what type of assessments they might be involved in as well. So this overview tab is a really nice place to get a snapshot of the module overall. And you can see on the left-hand side here is our navigation menu. And I'd like to go ahead back to the Module 2 summary page. You can navigate with me if you'd like. If you click on that, it brings us back to this summary page. So in the table of contents, besides having the overview, the one-page overview, we have all of the teacher materials by unit that we can link to here, as well as the student materials, a complementary page to share with the materials that you would share with students. So if we click on Unit 1, you can see again here a nice summary of the unit material, context for use, maybe a teaching tip or two, how to implement this into the classroom. And really, it gives you some ideas, what you need to do beforehand to prep, as well as all of the activities for the unit, all here contained in one page. So if you notice on the left-hand side again here, here's our menu. We can also go to the student materials, and you will see that the page looks very similar here. What is linked on this page are the materials that you would share with students. So the video links, the PowerPoint slides, etc. You'll also notice here in this for the instructor box, there is a link to a student version of the curriculum that you can actually share with students. This link that provides them with all of the curriculum that has removed any of the teaching tips, framing language that you would see in the teacher materials on the website. So you have both student materials that you can share directly with students, as well as the teaching materials with all of the information that you need. All right, so I'm going to go back to that with my back arrow, kind of get out of the student materials page, go back to the PolarPASS main page using my menu there. And the 360 IEs are included in both of the modules in the PolarPASS curriculum. And today what we're going to do is use or kind of go through one of the 360 IEs that we have as part of Module 1. And Spruce will take us through that. So if you click on this Exploring the Glacier Basin System tab, you'll see the Module 1 summary page. We're going to be entering into Unit 1, where we will page down and enter into the 360 IE. Before we do that, I want you to look at the teaching notes and tips area of the page here. What we've put together is a suggested implementation for the 360 IEs. This was something that we sent out in advance of the webinar today. You can click on that, and what you'll find is the more complete guide, giving you the general workflow, suggested implementation, student worksheets, as well as links to all of the other 360 IEs and a key to what the key features are to each of those 360 IEs. I'm going to page out of there and going to transition to Spruce here. He's going to take us into this 360 interactive environment. We're going to be working through traveling to the glacier terminus. So I'm going to stop sharing now and let Spruce share the 360 IE page.
Thanks, Emily. Can everyone see my screen here? We are at the PolarPASS interactive environments page.
Yes.
And if you didn't see that, how we got there, again, Emily took us to Unit 1 and we went down to 360 interactive environments and we clicked on traveling to the glacier terminus. So that link will have opened up a new tab. You can see here that there is an overview with these interactive environments, giving an example of how to navigate. And when you scroll down, you'll actually be able to see all of the 360 IE environments. So we have, there's a total of 4 at this point, along with the Unit 4 Watson Road discharge has 4 separate lengths because they're so large. And we are in the process of adding a 5th IE, which will be focused on the ice sheet itself. So what I'd like you to do is look here at the beginning for the traveling to the glacier terminus. And Emily, are you going to share that little guide once we get in here?
Yes, absolutely. They should have that guide in advance too. And I can put the link here if they want to see the PDF too. Yep.
Great. So the PDF that Emily shared, do you want me to show that, Emily?
I don't think so. I think they'll have it in there if they wanted to link to it and open to it in a different tab, but they can also link to it here and have it open in another tab if they want to have a couple windows.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate how I would use the 360 IE with my undergraduate students. So the undergraduate students would see the same link that we're seeing here. And this gives just sort of a really brief overview of what we're doing in this IE. So this is a virtual tour of the Kangerlussuaq Glacier Basin system. And you'll begin your exploration at the head of the fjord and work your way towards the Greenland ice sheet margin. So that's the direction that we're going to be traveling. And in the upper right corner, you'll see this little X in the box. And that is how you're going to move through these introductory slides. The second slide here is a land acknowledgement for the Inuit, the native peoples of Greenland. I'm going to skip over this for time. And then the initial scene here, you can't actually click anything. This is more of an orientation page just to show you how everything works. So in the upper left, we would have our scene number and a small description of what that scene is about. Also a reminder of icons. There's photo icons, video icons, and in some cases you can hover over an area and there'll be a pop-up. The upper right is our inset map, which provides you your location as well as the view shed that you're looking at. And this map is oriented so that north is up in all the slides. And then on the bottom, there are navigation bars, and you can also use your sort of hand tool to maneuver. So we'll close that screen. And so does everyone have the 360 IE open? What I would like you to do is just spend about 3 to 4 minutes exploring on your own, just to get a feel for both the interactive environment user interface and just to get a sense of Greenland. So I'll just note that you can use the hand, if you can see my hand on the screen, where you can sort of click and grab. All right, so I'm sort of clicking my mouse, holding my mouse down, and I'm able to sort of move with my hand the 360 view. Or if you prefer to click on the navigation bar on the bottom, that is also a nice option. So we'll spend about 4 minutes just exploring the IE just for you to get a sense, and then we'll reconvene back here at scene 1 for a little bit more of the guided virtual field trip. And you can send a message in the chat if you have any questions just about navigation and orientation on the map. we're able to. Welcome back to the 360 IE. I just wanted to ask if anyone had any questions or challenges with using the interactive environment, using the interface. Hopefully it worked fairly smoothly, navigating with the arrows between the scenes. Oh, I see a question there.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering if these virtual tours are like accessible to folks who use a screen reader. Are they navigable with a screen reader?
That is a good question. Emily, do you know the answer to that?
Actually do not, whether or not there's like some text associated with the view that you're seeing. That's a very good question that I don't know how to answer as well. But we will definitely find out. Daniela Pennycook was our developer for this interface. And so there might be with the screen reader, like the scene description might show up, but yeah, otherwise, good question.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so you have seen the instructor guide for the 360 interactive environments. And so the initial step, we're short on time, so we've just done a few minutes of sort of open exploration. The next step, you as the instructor, you would guide them through sort of sequentially through each of the stops. In step 3, we have sort of apply and reflect section, and a step 4, connect. For the length of this webinar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out a couple of key scenes that I'd like to share with you just to demonstrate some of the options within the IE, and then also a little bit of a scavenger hunt afterwards. So if you can return back to scene 1, and you can navigate by clicking directly on the location on the map. And I just like to point out here in scene 1, there's a second little blue dot. That means there's 2 scenes. So this is 1.1, but there's also a scene 1.2. You can see this with stop 4 has a second blue dot, and stop 7 has a second blue dot, which means, again, there's 2 scenes in that location. And so I just want to point out where we're starting here. We are at the head of the fjord, close to Kangerlussuaq, the village. And you can see here, this is sort of the start of our exploration, and we work our way to the northeast all the way up to the Greenland ice sheet margin. One of the things to point out, in multiple units, we come back to these same IEs, so it's nice to get the exposure in the first unit, but even though they're not explicitly pointed out in each unit, you can come back to these IEs to point out key features. And so in module 2, there's a whole section on glacial landforms and identifying evidence for past ice sheet cover. And so in this scene here, I would just point out that there is an entire rock surface here that has been abraded by the glaciers, that has been smoothed over, and all the rough features have been mainly removed. So this is sort of an indicator that the ice sheet had extended at one point all the way out to this location. So the next scene I would like you to navigate to is scene 4.4. So we click directly on the map. We can skip going sequentially and jump right to scene 4. You can see in this example, off in the distance is the town of Kangerlussuaq. So this is an example of where your hand needs to hover to find some of these little identifiers. Here we have in the distance Lake Ferguson, which is a glacially carved out lake. And within the Kangerlussuaq Basin drainage, we have the Watson River entering into the fjord. So this is the mouth of the Watson River here to give you that sort of orientation. And again, you can see it on the map it's an area of braided river channels, and also there's tidal input here where the fjord will raise and lower throughout the day. And if we keep turning, we can see a really nice example of glacial scouring. And what's interesting about this location here is that you can really see the direction of ice movement. It's moving from the east to the west and carving out these big grooves within the bedrock. So this is a prime example of glacial abrasion, and another piece of evidence that we would have the students be looking for in Module 2 when we do glacial landforms. In this first unit, our goal is really just to introduce the entire environment to the students. So from here, I'd like you to click on scene 6. So we're going to move further to the right, to the northeast, and click on scene 6. And when this scene opens, again, you're looking towards the east. And here are some examples of some of the icons. So the mountain scene, we can see a nice image here of the Watson River and the braided river channels that change quite frequently during the summer months when the river is choked full of sediment and is always having to find a new channel as it fills. Another example is we have 360 video, and this actually plays through YouTube where it's hosted. So unfortunately, there are some ads that always pop up at the end. But once you click on it, it takes a moment for the video to load, but you can actually move within the video itself. So I'm going to play the video here. And hopefully you can hear that audio. You might not be able to. But while the video is playing, you can navigate within it. Okay, sometimes you have to pause and go back and start it again. But within the video itself, you can do 360 as well, which is a really unique tool. So I'm going to close the video there. And one of the scavenger hunt items that you probably can find very quickly, but are what we call glacial erratics. These are boulders that have been dropped by the glaciers as they retreated, as they melted out. So that's one thing that you're going to want to look for the scavenger hunt. So keep that in mind. We are now going to move closer out to scene 9 by the edge of the ice sheet. So I'm going to click on scene 9. And here you can see, finally, you get to the ice sheet. And within this view, there are a number of informational pop-ups. So again, highlighting examples of glacial abrasion and polish in the bedrock. And here we have, again, an image over the Greenland ice sheet. When you click on this, this actually gives you images of what it is like to be up on the ice. These are criconite holes, so this would be sort of another example of scavenger hunt item. And in some of the scenes, we've added a little question mark. And so this is typically another example of how within each scene, there may be a question for the students. So in this example is, can you identify the terminal moraines in this image? Moraines are composed of poorly sorted material, including silt, sand, pebbles, cobbles, and boulders known as till. So that would be one of the tasks within this particular IE, students would have to see if they can identify a terminal moraine based on that description. And lastly, we're going to jump to scene 10. Give you one more example. And in this example, you can see that we're very close to the ice sheet margin. And again, we can explore in all directions. And so I'm going to click on one more example of the embedded videos. And in this video, we're actually looking on the surface of the region where the ice is melting in the summertime. So this is known as the ablation zone. And there's an entire chapter, or sorry, unit on glacial hydrology and both superficial flow and glacial flow. So I feel like this hopefully gives you a little taste of the 360 IE, how the images and the videos work, and this idea of coming back in future units to refer back to some of these key landforms or videos or processes. So what I'd like to do is just see if we can do a really short scavenger hunt. I'll give you roughly 2 minutes to look through and see if you can find a couple items. We've already seen quite a few, but one is looking for what we call glacial erratics. These are boulders that have been rounded and smoothed and left behind by the ice as it retreated. And that question mark that you saw earlier about finding a terminal moraine, a mound of rocks and silt marking where the ice position once was. So just take a minute to navigate around, see if you can identify those features here in either scene 10 or scene 9, and then we will move on. And I'm going to stop sharing so you can explore on your own. So if you had a chance to find one of these items during the scavenger hunt in scene 9 or 10, maybe just raise your hand or type in the item that you found or you think that you found. And so in the 360 IE, we would sort of wrap up using that instructor guide and have students reflect on what they saw, questions that they had, any processes that they wanted clarified. And from there, we would then move on to the rest of the unit material.
Awesome. And if you want to share, you know, in the chat, if you find something that you would like to share with the rest of the group, we're going to also kind of share a bit about what some of the other beta tester faculty shared with us about using the PolarPASS curriculum. So Spruce had mentioned that he and the other developer, Alia Khan, had tested this within their own classrooms. But then we reached out to faculty in at other institutions to test it for us, you know, in their classrooms. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about what we found out from that process as well. So you can see that, you know, these 360 interactive environments could be implemented in a lot of different ways. Spruce did an abbreviated version of kind of following that workflow that's in the handout that we provided, where there's some open exploration, there's some note-taking and guidance through some of the stops, and then some you know, scavenger hunt activities and reflection. So we see that as kind of a general workflow, but it could be implemented as part of a lab, working together as a class. You could see handing out that student worksheet and having them work together to problem solve. Also, as part of a lecture, you could start the field trip or the 360 IE experience as part of a lecture. get them started, and then assign it as homework and have them work through that worksheet or those activities on their own. And of course, Spruce is on the block schedule, so you could devote a full afternoon or morning to this activity as well, and build in all sorts of additional supports. Spruce, did you have something to add there?
No, I think that one of the things that we haven't done on the website is reference back to the sort of particular IEs that would be useful. And again, that's why we sort of start off at the very first unit introducing these, so that as an instructor, you can go back and sort of know what's there. But that's something that we might add in the future. It's just sort of, if you're doing unit 3, go back and look at this IE, something like that.
Yeah, for sure. We also see these as something that could be implemented in online classes as well. You can see from your own exploration, just using the links, that it's quite easy to load and navigate the 360 IEs on your own devices. And so you can have this be something that students work together on in breakout rooms in Zoom or something like that, if you also have an online experience. So certainly a lot of different ways that this could be implemented in different types of classrooms. According to our beta testers at the other institutions, certainly if you have a TA or even another eager student, I like that, a peer student who might be able to run through some of the module activities ahead of time, help answer questions. That's always good to kind of get a sense for what the students are going to be working with as they move through the curriculum. We had a instructor use the IE as something that students explored initially at the very start of the curriculum, and those images that they saw in that exploration helped them to then do a gallery walk activity that she had made for her class. So kind of priming what the imagery might look like, and then using that in the classroom as a complementary to the IE. And then, of course, another faculty member noted that the IEs do a really nice job of showing the deglaciated landscape. So if you're really looking at landforms or a geomorphology class, these IEs are great to see these landforms in the field. And so there are a lot of potential extension activities that you can embed in the curriculum to complement what's already in the PolarPASS published curriculum as well. So we have this particular slide that is where you would find all of the resources for PolarPASS. Of course, the PolarPASS curriculum on the CERC page, and then all of the other 360 IEs that we have built for the curriculum can be found on that link to the series webpage. And we wanted to offer some time now for you to explore some of the other IEs, and for us to answer questions about how, if you had questions about how to use the IEs in your own classroom. And I actually am going to share with you a link to another poll with that question specifically. You've had a chance to kind of explore, albeit briefly, one of the IEs. How do you see implementing something like this in your classroom? We'd love to find out some of your ideas. So we'll open it up here to questions and exploration of those other tours. I'll stop sharing. Oops. Not sure what I just shared there. that would hyperlink. Right again.
Emily, I can copy and paste in the link if you'd like.
Yeah, thanks. I seem to be giving static text.
There we go. Yeah.
Anyway, so I see in some of the responses, and I know that you all can see other people's responses on your own, but definitely seeing something like this as part of a lab session, online assignment. Yes, as an in-class exercise, certainly a lot of different ideas here. Yes, absolutely. The accessibility question is a really good one, and I wish that we had a quick answer for you, but we absolutely will find out those details and make sure that these could be something that could be used with a screen reader, and because we want those to be accessible to everybody as well. So we'll make sure to get that information out and published on the page.
Yeah, and are there any other questions about the PolarPASS curriculum in general? Yeah, go ahead, Allison.
Not really a question, just a compliment. I really like the 360 videos. What a great way to give students a sense of place. It's even better than just the stationary photographs. So I really like that you included that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's one of the pieces that we're hoping to add more of for the on ice IE as well. Most of these videos were done during COVID, which was a real challenge. And on the side note, there were some polar bears that were exploring around Kangerlussuaq village at this time. And so it made for a very exciting for the polar field staff that were doing a lot of our collection for us. So we hope to finally get the final IE up this fall. So most of the curriculum is ready to roll, and we'll be making little tweaks as we go. But the hope is that people will start using this curriculum in early next year in January for spring semester quarter. So.
Is there anything people can do to get signed up to be alerted when things start going live? Or more things?
Yeah. Things are live now, like that link that Emily shared to the main PolarPASS website. All that material is live. A piece that we didn't mention is all the exercises. The student exercises have their Word documents when you click on the links, as well as Excel files that have all the data. And so on the instructor page, there are answer keys for all of those Word documents, as well as for the Excel exercises. And then on the student page, those are obviously all blank. So we're still tweaking some things here and there, but I think maybe we can have, if you've joined SARC or NAGT, we can send it out through both of those institutions and say, hey, just a reminder, everything is live and ready to go. So feel free to email us at the email link as well. That was on I think the very first page for PolarPASS. And would you remember what the email link is? PolarPASS.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a PolarPASS at colorado.edu. And we can put that, we'll share these slides with Ashley, and they can send them out to you. So with all the links and resources at your disposal there. So Ashley, I know you have other things you want to include here at the end of this webinar. So
yes, I'll go ahead and get started on that. Let's see. I have so many tabs open that I can't seem to find my PowerPoint quickly. There it is. Are you able to see my webinar slide or my PowerPoint slide?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much, Emily and Bruce, for such a wonderful webinar today. As Emily said, I can send out the resources that were shared during the meeting, the PowerPoint slides, everything will be posted on the webinar page, including the recording. And I'll send out an email to the participants and the NAGT webinar list as a whole. When everything is posted, we like to get them captioned just so they're more accessible before posting them. And if you could take a minute to complete the end of webinar survey, that would be great. We always love getting feedback. I'll send a link to that in the chat. There it is. And if you need a certificate of attendance, completing the evaluation is how you'll get to that. It'll be a link at the end. Also, keep an eye out for our next webinar. It'll likely be in the spring. It has not been announced yet. So if you aren't on the mailing list, you can go ahead and join that and you get alerted for the next one. And thank you again for everyone for attending today and having such a great discussion. And extra thank you to our presenters. Thank you, Emily and Spruce. Have a great Friday, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.